Hello, I'm John Grom, and welcome to the 72nd Right and Left Discussion Forum. We televise our panel discussion twice monthly to demonstrate that one of the best ways to learn is to listen to the opinions of other people with an open mind, especially if you disagree with them. Today we'll test how familiar our panelists are with the opinions of the leading columnists and pundits of the day. First, we will read an opinion and ask our panel to identify who it belongs to. Today's panel, beginning on my left, is Patty Haskins, retired math teacher and current member of the Wadsworth City Council. On her left is Dr. Ronald Chamberlin, retired senior research chemist. On his left is Philip Grom, CEO of the consulting firm Intellifran. During our last panel discussion, Jerry Ritzman suggested that we have a program where we read something to the panel with the source left unnamed and ask the panel to identify the source. So that's what we're going to do today. It might be fun for you who are watching this program to play along with us. There's no prize or anything, but you get to test how up to date you are with those people who are out there who think they know everything. And there are a lot of them. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Well, anytime.
Okay. And Ron, you don't get to answer any of these.
I always looked at the first two.
I'm a millionaire. I'm a multimillionaire. I'm filthy rich. You know why I'm a multimillionaire? Because multi-millions like what I do. Who said that?
That's the softball one. That's Donald Trump. Has to be.
Or it could be Michael Moore, because he's really quite wealthy.
See, and you already know the answer, right? Okay, Patty, you get the bing, bing, you won.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Donald Trump didn't say that. He would have said billionaire.
That's true.
And he did make a comment, because he did make a comment similar to that when he first ran. He kept saying, I'm rich, I'm very rich. I didn't remember him saying this, and he is a billionaire. So.
Oh, he wouldn't ever use the word millionaire on himself.
It's interesting. I saw a quote. I didn't check that. I know the way to check the math, but he inherited a lot of money from his parents, and someone said he's such a great businessman. However, if he'd have just put it into an indexed fund, he would have $8 billion instead of $3 billion today. So.
I heard
Some
that.
crackpot made that up.
I heard that I think it was at one of the debates they made that, or I heard that
Well, I
comment
read it
too.
somewhere.
I heard that comment being said, but that was on the assumption that he had actually inherited the $200 million, which he actually says he did not.
Yeah, that's right.
What I find interesting is that Michael Moore said that, where he wears a badge traditionally of pride and poverty, and helping support the underlings, the downtrodden, the people that are not represented. And I'm kind of surprised that he would go out and acknowledge that, although it's an accurate statement.
Yeah.
It's I just find that kind of surprising.
I think if you go down through a list of Michael Moore quotes, you'd be even more compounded.
Oh, my favorite Michael Moore quote was from his summer program, which he went across the border into Mexico to manufacturing plants and asked the plant manager how to ask questions in Spanish, and said, how do you say you can take a break? And he told him how, and he said, okay, so how do you say in Spanish, once you get your arm out of the machine, you have to go back to work?
Okay, number two. I think that so long as fossil fuels are cheap, people will use them, and it will postpone a movement towards new technologies.
That could be by anybody.
That sounds like a Krauthammer quote, and is that he's looking, I think he looks beyond and deeper, on a deeper horizon than a lot of these individuals do.
That's true, but you're 0 for 2.
I'm 0 for 2, that's all right.
I would have probably gone with Krauthammer too. Who else?
This one is probably the most difficult one on the page.
Could be George Will.
Yeah, could be, but it's not. Okay, it's Paul Krugman.
Paul Krugman.
Paul is an economist, and that's the kind of thing that he would
that
have going
makes
through
sense.
his brain. He used to be a really good economist, then he became a bad columnist for the New York Times. But anyway, that's who he is.
Well, that's really an accurate statement. You know, as I've mentioned a couple of times in this program, I have a background in fuel technology. This was my department in grad school, and that's really true. That's why you're getting fracking now, because it's cheaper than alternatives.
Right.
And why you're not going to see Canadian tar sands for a while, because they're too expensive. As long as natural gas is cheap, you're not going to get it. It's just dictated by that. It's not dictated by amount of stuff, and not dictated by anything but just the economy.
Well, the current low price of oil has caused a lot of disruption for a lot of people. In fact, I have a nephew who's involved in the brine business, sells it to municipalities and all. Yeah. Well, he's actually in the oil business, used to be in the oil business. They're making more money selling brine that comes out of the wells than they are selling oil.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the key problems today is that politics is such a disgrace. Good people don't go into government.
That's George Will. That has to be.
You know, I was thinking it sounds like a straightforward Chris Matthews comment, but the irony would be as if it was Al Sharpton. Wouldn't that be great? You shake your head at me.
Well, you're all wrong.
I guess I'm wrong, so.
I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Oh, come on.
It's Donald Trump.
Oh, you're kidding. I'll be darned. Well, that was a good curveball.
Yeah.
Well, he has said that many times. He started off his campaign saying politics is so bad.
That's true. That's true.
Good people, and I think he's absolutely right. Yeah, he's proven the point.
I still think it would have been better if Al Sharpton had said that.
Why do you say that?
Well, Al's been known to be such an honest person, so
Okay.
we'll go no farther.
Okay. Okay, next one. Popularity makes no law invulnerable to invalidation. Americans accept judicial supervision of their democracy, judicial review of popular but possibly unconstitutional statutes, because they know that if the Constitution is to truly constitute the nation, it must trump some majority preferences. That's spelled with a U. Well, I suppose they're all spelled with a U. Anyway, Philip, I know you're going to get this one. You're
Yeah, because there's a lot of multisyllabic words in there, so that just eliminated a third of the people on this list. So. That, to me, I can hear George Will saying that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to put my rally cap on, and let's burn through the rest of these so I can beat Mrs. Haskins.
Well, we're not keeping score here except for you. You've only got one. That's easy.
It's like Little League. We don't keep score, but we're up by 4.
Remember Bryan Laubaugh said he was tired of this participation certificates, or his daughter got a trophy for playing soccer, and he said, well, who won? She said, I don't know, we don't keep score. He said, I did, and you lost.
I remember when he did that. Yes.
Listen, friends, you have to face the truth. You are never going to be rich. The system is rigged in favor of the few, and your name is not among them. Not now, not ever.
Well, you don't have Bernie Sanders on this list, which
Right.
I would immediately gravitate towards that. Then the obvious choice would be Al Sharpton, just given the dialogue that he's had time to time. But my sense is it's probably not him.
It doesn't sound exactly like Sharpton.
Okay, remember.
But it reeks of Michael Moore at the same time.
Okay,
So.
we'll give you half for that one.
All right.
Yeah.
And if I work all the names into a sentence.
It is more, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah.
But isn't it interesting to compare that to the first quote by Michael Moore?
He's pretty straightforward when he says stuff.
Well, you don't have to necessarily be right when you're straightforward. You can.
Oh,
be
no, and I
straightforwardly
didn't mean
wrong.
it that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Some calamities, the 1929 stock market crash, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, have come like summer lightning as bolts from the blue. The looming crisis of America's Ponzi entitlement structure is different. Driven by the demographics of an aging population, its causes, timing, and scope are known.
Chris Matthews.
I can hear George Will saying that, particularly because he's such a history disciple.
That's why I said Chris Matthews, because he is such a history person.
So that's kind of like a Krauthammer comment too.
Yeah.
More like Chris Matthews, though.
Well, the rookie one's another one. It's George
Okay,
Will.
the rally has begun.
Reagan was all about America, and you talked about it. We are above that now. We are not just parochial. We are not just chauvinistic. We're not just provincial. We stand for something. I mean, in a way, Obama's standing above the country, above the world. He's sort of God. He's going to bring all sides together.
Matthews.
I mean, my obvious choice is in part due to the 90+% approval rating by the African American community of Obama. It leads me to believe it's Al Sharpton. Because I don't think we've gotten an Al Sharpton quote in here yet.
Be patient. Ron? Okay.
We're obviously wrong, so go ahead and guess.
No, Patty, you got it right.
Oh, okay.
Chris Matthews said that.
It really does sound like him.
You
As
know,
I
the
thought
first
that
time I
would be.
read that, I thought that doesn't sound like anybody with a brain. But I guess maybe that's not a qualification. Oh man, I'm showing my
You
stripes
are.
here. And
Matthews tends to take
shouldn't be
things to
doing.
extremes sometimes. So, I mean,
He
the fact
does.
that he would say he's sort of God, that's the type of thing he would say. So,
I guess I don't watch him often enough to have a feeling of
he
his
always has at the
personality.
end these little moments that he'll take like 2 minutes and he
And a lot of what he does is an
statements.
homage to Senator Moynihan that he worked with for decades.
Right.
And I think it's just trying to perpetuate those thoughts and those attitudes. Not that they're wrong or they're right, just,
I didn't know he worked for Moynihan.
yeah.
Really? Okay. It seems that some have chosen to ignore or have simply forgotten the big picture vision promoted by Dr. King and his kin.
I don't have a clue on that one.
That's probably Sharpton.
I would say Sharpton or Maddow.
Oh, well, you should have stopped at Sharpton.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
Sharpton.
Yeah, it
yeah.
is.
If it's not Sharpton, it's her. But, yeah.
You know, I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that, but you know, I've made the observation that King's philosophy and all that, it has been largely ignored in recent decades, actually. If you read the I Have Dreams speech and read it closely, he is all about the table of brotherhood, about racial harmony, and that's not the way we're headed these days. Not the activists are. They're more divisive than that. They're not about reconciliation.
On any side, there's a meme going out with a picture of Al Sharpton saying that if Trump is elected, he'll lead the country. And he says, "Would you like to like this and encourage him?" You know. So.
Oh, there's a
Some
whole
people don't
list
like
of
that.
people now that are going to leave the country.
Oh, yeah.
if
Well, there
Trump
was
is
a
elected.
list for Bush too, but they're all still here.
Right. Well, didn't O'Reilly threaten to leave the country if?
After the, I just read
Yeah.
recently that after the Super Tuesday, Google searches for how to leave the country and go to Canada spiked.
It crashed the Canadian immigration site.
I can't imagine.
They're
more-
going to build the wall now. No.
I can't imagine a more stupid threat than to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Anyone who says that, there's a large crowd that is really encouraging them. I mean, who wants to keep Rosie well,
Let's not go there.
forget that. I think that presidents don't give up power that is accrued to them by the precedent of previous presidents. That's hard to say. Too much alliteration. So I'll read it again. I think that presidents don't give up power that has accrued to them by the precedent of previous presidents, even when they would like to. I think once they get there, they don't give it up.
Whoa. I have no idea.
That's probably a ringer because it is by somebody that most folks aren't all that familiar with, I suppose.
Krauthammer?
No. Krugman. Paul Krugman said that.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a Morning Joe fan, he shows up on there every now and again.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Who's
With some
Morning
good
Joe?
charts.
That's interesting.
That's a MSNBC in the morning.
That's not the first thing I do when I get up. Watch MSNBC. I watch it in the afternoon sometimes. Okay, one more. No, there is more than one more. If Obama had his way, the change that is coming is a new America, fair, leveled, and social democratic. Obama didn't get to warranty your muffler. He's here to warranty your life.
Wow.
Warranty your muffler.
Well, I left a word out on
Even
He
the
didn't
context of that, I'm trying to think who would work that phrase into anything they would say.
Obama
See,
didn't
Click
get
and Clack
elected.
aren't on here, so that takes them out of the running.
That would have been one. Yeah.
Not a clue.
Oh, it's another one of those really clever, sarcastic, syndicated columnists.
Well, then I would say George Will, because not all of these folks are syndicated. George is.
No,
That's Krauthammer.
that is
Oh,
correct.
okay.
Remember, Krauthammer is the guy.
I'm surprised by that. Yeah.
Pardon me?
I'm surprised by the comment by him. Yeah.
One of the things that I tried to do in putting these together is to put ones that are not obvious.
Right, right.
So my devilish way of.
What were you going to say about Krauthammer?
No, I'd mentioned before in the beginning of his book, Things That Matter, he said the first thing you have to understand about political conflict is that liberals think that conservatives are evil, and conservatives think that liberals are stupid. He said you have to understand that.
Right.
And
Pretty astute.
at first I thought it was a joke, but when I think about
Pretty astute.
what you hear people saying about the other side and all that. I mean, when's the last time you heard a liberal talk about a conservative without referring to him as being evil, her somehow being evil?
I have a friend who generally uses the phrase reprehensible Republicans, you know. So.
I've got friends, even relatives, that use a lot worse words.
Well, yeah.
You had a couple of quotes in mind. Did you bring them with you?
I had one. This is a Republican senator who was being interviewed on one of the national things, and I'll have to give this kind of paraphrase. But he says a Donald Trump presidency would be an absolute disaster for the country. And a little bit later, he says, "But I absolutely will support whoever is a Republican candidate."
That was a senator who said that?
That was a senator.
Amazing, isn't it?
I've heard several people say that. Wait a minute. Is it a well-known
Well,
senator?
Ted Cruz said it.
Ted Cruz said it.
Okay.
He's one of at least five.
Well,
that-
yeah.
but
I was
Ted
gonna say.
is more prominent with it. Yeah.
You know, that's a real dilemma, though. You have people are probably going to have three choices in November, and it's going to be Trump, Clinton, or none of the above.
I was going to say that the third one would be nobody.
Yeah.
Well, several people have said that, well, at least here in Ohio, said they'll vote for some independent candidate or whatever, constitutional party or whatever, that's out there, Green Party.
Not even voting for Kasich, huh?
Not even voting for Kasich.
Interesting.
Anyway, come on. Come on. He'd be embarrassing upstairs at the White House, so I think she'd have a hard time. I think a woman president would have to be very conservative to get elected.
I read that, and he'd be embarrassing at the White House.
Talking about Bill.
Bill, okay, upstairs. So I think she'd have a hard time. I think a woman president. That does sound like a Trump comment.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one else would be that brash about it.
Probably not.
No takers, huh?
No, I would go with Patty and say Trump. I can't imagine anybody else going out on a limb like that. Because so many of these people are in the corner of the Clintons at one point or another.
That's Chris Matthews.
Chris Matthews,
Okay.
who's on the outside looking in on the Democratic Party. So.
Does anybody else have a quote they'd like to throw out there?
Yeah, I've got one. Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Oh, Abraham Lincoln, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well,
Exactly.
I cheated because you mentioned that the other day.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I would have known it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
A society that thinks the choice between ways of living is just a choice between equally eligible lifestyles turns universities into academic cafeterias offering junk food for the mind.
Rachel Maddow.
Maddow.
It's got to be Rachel. I can
Well,
hear
I
her.
would-
Yeah.
I don't catch Rachel till 5 o'clock in the morning when they're re-airing it, but I can hear that.
That thinks the choice between ways of living is just a choice. Yeah, I would agree.
Now, why Rachel Maddow?
She talks quite a bit about education. She talks quite a bit about how the discipline of education has become wayward, that you can pretty much just go to school and get whatever you want and be done with it, but it doesn't really get you anywhere or lead you anywhere. And I don't know that that's the crux of the quote so much as she's just a strong proponent of live your life the way you want, but you still need to step up to the plate and contribute to society and make the right decisions to be able to do that.
I'm surprised. She would be the last person I would have suggested to be critical of alternate lifestyles.
And that's why, yeah,
No, but that's why I'm saying if you have watched her enough, you'll note that is not a badge. That she doesn't identify that way, but just the opposite, at least from what I see.
although,
It's kind of,
no, it's not. It's
I
not
mean, a
Rachel.
liberal education, I think, is very important. I think you've got to pair that with a more directed career choice in order to really do yourself any good.
No, I don't think it is Rachel Maddow.
And just going there, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this, going to the cafeteria of education and picking out a dish here and a dish there, fine, you'll be a nicely well-rounded, unemployed individual. So, you know.
Anyway, it was George Will.
It was,
What does he know?
Well,
Yeah.
he knows to make these interesting analogies.
Well, Rachel should have said it. So
I'm not sure because I'll stop there. So.
You don't have to. We got 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Okay. People who disagree on important issues don't agree on the facts.
That is Rachel Maddow. She's really big on stating facts on her show. Just the way she presents herself on the show, I'm
can
going
be
to give
any
you
of
the
these
facts
people.
and let you decide.
yeah,
And I'm probably
quite frankly,
wrong.
I'd give credit to anybody for that statement.
No, I think
Well,
that's her.
It is Rachel Maddow.
Oh. Especially Rachel Maddow.
No, she makes when she does her program. You'll listen to her take an issue, and she'll say, "Okay, fact one,
Right.
fact two," and it just seems to be a thing that she does on her program. That
Oh,
I
she
like.
did it very effectively with Flint. The whole exposure of the water issue was at her hand.
Yeah.
That
Really?
it had just fallen on deaf ears, and a few months ago is when she started up on that, and that's what got the attention. And news crews started showing up, and people in the government finally showed up to do better and more effective tests, and it was all revealed. So
She definitely, you know where she stands on issues, but she spends more time reciting facts, I think, than giving opinion.
point.
And I like that. One of the things I like.
You know,
about her.
I've been thinking about that recently. As a trained scientist, I've to look at facts and try to, if I get into an argument, I try to convince people with facts. And in a number of issues like religion and politics, that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. You're not going to change a person's opinion by giving them the facts. I've talked to people about homosexuality. I've talked to people about climate change. Non-scientific people, and it doesn't work. So, it's a little discouraging because here's my lifestyle is being brought into question.
Seems to me you'd have a little trouble finding the facts to support climate change, but that's...
Oh, no.
Well, we're not going to...
February, the warmest February on record. Climate change is occurring. It's real.
Oh, excuse me. Climate change, yes. The causes of climate change are something else again.
Well, as a scientist, I'm overjoyed when I get a set of facts that disprove my previous opinion. Mm-hmm. That's truth. That's knowledge.
You just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time left.
No, that's a whole other topic.
That's why you have to separate you two.
This is an interesting one.
Uh-huh.
I'm not religious. I do not believe that personhood is conferred upon conception. But I also do not believe that a human embryo is the moral equivalent of a hangnail and deserves no more respect than an appendix.
Wow. I don't know which of these people have come out in any strong way, one way or the other on that.
Well, you think this is a strong statement?
Yeah, I think it's a strong statement.
For or against what?
Against the personhood conferred upon conception idea.
It's against abortion.
And ease of abortion.
Yeah.
Anti Planned Parenthood, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Any one of these who might be against that.
This is by a scientist. He's not known to be a scientist. He's known to be a syndicated columnist. But he's a physician, a psychiatrist, very bright guy with a multisyllabic German last name.
Okay.
Charles Krauthammer.
I didn't know he was a physician.
That actually was going to be my guess.
And
I thought, oh, this
thank you
sounds
very much
stupid.
for that.
Who won?
The timing was great. Oh, everybody gets a participation certificate. The Krauthammer, yes, he was a psychiatrist, and he describes himself now as to be a recovering psychiatrist.
Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah. No, you ought to read his biography. He is one impressive guy.
He is.
He was in medical school, and he and a buddy decided to skip a class that was on cervical injuries. And they went someplace and goofed off, and then they were on their way back, and they came across a swimming pool and decided this would be a great place to spend some more time. So he dove into the pool, and he said the second his head hit the bottom of the pool, he knew his life had changed forever. And he became paralyzed from the neck down. And the irony of it was, the book that he had set aside to go jump into the water was a book on treating spinal cord injuries.
Why?
But